Hello, everyone. This is the Hungry Creative Podcast, and my name is Mofi, sharing stories and interesting experiences about creative life and life of a designer, life of a creative, and interesting people come on board to share their stories. And today we have someone who is someone I consider probably one of the best designers in Africa or in Nigeria. And he's going to share his own journey as a designer, how he's evolved, and I hope it's going to be an interesting session. And so, let's see. I need you to do one thing for me. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and every little counts, and I do really appreciate you. How do you want to introduce yourself? What do you want to introduce yourself as?
I would just say multidisciplinary creative, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because I do so many things and I wear so many hats, but multidisciplinary creative. But my primary fields, 3D, branding, art direction, and photography. I'll say those four. But I started with design first. I started as a designer. I obviously, as my early influences, I would say, for when I was young, I grew up in a family where they love artists. Like if you go to my grandma's house, that's our family house, you see a lot of paintings that, each family member probably did. Then obviously entering secondary school, which obviously we attended the same secondary school, and we can both attest. I think everybody knew in secondary school knew that I was very good at drawing, but I was the
Absolutely.
only one that didn't follow you guys to TD because I was more
True.
arts.
True.
I would say I was as good as you guys, but when it came to like diverging into science class and art class, you guys went into TD. I went to do food and nutrition, but I still followed,
For the food.
I swear, I remember that period.
Man. Yeah.
Then I entered Covenant, and my view. But to be fair, I saw my brother use Macromedia Flash. I think before Adobe bought it, it became Adobe Flash. But
Really?
yeah, but they don't. I think Flash is an outdated technology. I don't know if
Yeah,
you know.
is it not like a player or something? Like
Exactly. You needed it to play all those animated.
Yeah, like
So I
videos
watched
or
my
something.
brother, like he was using more like web experiences. I don't know what it has evolved into, but it used to be owned by Macromedia. They had Fireworks and Flash. Then Adobe bought all those apps. Then they terminated them one by one. But I remember seeing him use Macromedia Flash, and I was just my brother was saying one that in Cyber Cafe he installed a PlayStation emulator, so you could play PlayStation games on computer. All those classes he's still into tech anyways. That's his career now. And I was just trying to learn how to use Flash, and it never panned out. Then I got to uni and I got Photoshop. I remember the first time I got Photoshop, downloaded it the first time, and I was jaded because I could just see a white screen. Then I didn't have any experience. So imagine just seeing a white screen on it. I was like, what's this? I installed it again. Downloaded it again. Downloaded it like 4 times.
Really?
By the 5th time, I was just like, man, I'm going to lock in. And I became so
time.
I swear, 5 times.
Wait, was it that you couldn't get someone to show you, or like was it YouTube then?
There was YouTube, but YouTube didn't have as much information. So it was web pages. It was web pages, so you have to download web pages. But if you remember, the thing is, I wasn't the best at school, so between juggling grades and learning a new software, it felt like you get, because you be excited that you're learning something. Then you have MAC, that's mass com, Mark 102 in all this thing. You need to go for a lecture. So gradually, what would have taken me like 2 months to learn took me like 6 months in between classes and exams and everything. And I just started doing it, and I guess I wasn't having so much fun in school. It became a distraction. Like it was my other thing outside of main school, and I was already failing in school anyways. Like I was doing well in the courses that had to do with visuals, but when it came to things like statistics and history and all those things, I just used to not do well. My results was a mess. Like, you don't want to know how many carryovers I had in final year, but I was able to, power through and make it happen.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember I graduated and I did the schools that set the billboard for our set. So that was like my
Wow.
partying. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
By final year, I'd already made a name for myself. Like, people knew, they knew of Niyi Okeowo, his works, but they just didn't know what I looked like as a person. Because I was always in the library or going to look for where there's internet. Like, for me, it wasn't like I knew I was going to be a designer. I was just like, I'm miserable in school and this is my getaway. And Covenant, you can't go out, you don't have phones. They've restricted you in a way that
that was like your escape.
you get. I remember this other guy that we would, because I always tell this story. I would go to the laundry. The laundry is in Covenant, like it's near the bathroom where you can like wash your clothes and all these things. And I remember going to the laundry at like 12 a.m. to go and pee because I'd have stayed up all night working. And I would see this other guy too, he's making beats. Because laundry, there's light.
Like in the studio, like cooking.
His name is HOD Beats. I think that's his name. Like, he's done also for Lamine and Co. Like, but it's just nice seeing like two different people like chasing their crafts and HOD, I'll just go and pee, then go back. Then I left, obviously, graduated from CU. I started working at some company called Cyan Media, which was owned by the guys that own Softcom now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I worked there like a tech startup.
So what they did was more like a marketing agency.
Oh, like
a marketing PR marketing, okay. Yeah. So they needed a designer. Yeah.
Oh, so you did work for an agency before?
Just briefly.
Like moving to.
Briefly.
Okay.
Like the first 2 months of graduating, I already got a job.
Okay.
But for some reason, I just didn't. I didn't.
I think you even started doing like photography at some point before, like.
So it was those.
I think people.
So I had those. I started doing photography in CU, which is funny because the guy that borrowed me his camera, me and Lex Ash, we both lent from the same camera. Lex Ash now the photographer. So I have so many stories that we intertwined with so many people. Me and Lex Ash, like we both borrowed the same camera to learn photography. Then I learned photography in those 2 months of graduating, and there was a free period between NYC and graduating. I now understudied Obi Somto. Like I was following I'll go to the studio, go and learn photography. At some point, them ice prints will pull up, all those celebrities will pull up. I'll see how I will shoot everything, I think I helped edit some album covers. Like
I think you did something for Chocolate City or
yes, now. So I did something for Ice Prince, Aboki,
Ice Prince,
an alternative cover. I did Frenzy, the Prince. The Prince had this album where he had the deck on like a glass table. So I helped them do the glass reflection thing. What was some project, Sha? Then I remember talking to my brother, and his friend was telling me how he wants to leave the country, and that he's working at this place called Indani, and then he thinks that I should just apply. And I applied, and I went for the interview, and my first boss, future boss, that's Jadesola Oshiberu. She's the one who shot Isoken, Gangs of Lagos, Brotherhood, all those big. But then she was the head of Indani. Yeah, so I joined Indani. I think Indani was where I really became multidisciplinary, because in my opinion, Indani was like Avengers. A lot of people who are doing great things now, they were in Indani. Obviously, T-Base. You already know T-Base now. T-Base are in Indani. There's Tega. There's Casey now, who shot for Wizkid, Essence. You have Mohamed Atta, who shot for Beyonce. You have Daniel F. Young, who is this big actor now. You had Bimbo Craig. Bimbo Craig was doing Skinny Girl Transit.
How was it like working there?
It was the thing is, when I was working there, I was sort of the youngest in the beginning. So I was a sponge. I went there as a graphic designer with some photography experience. But I got there, and I could say after I left Indani, I knew how to do motion graphics. I knew how to do VFX. I knew how to cut clips in Premiere Pro. I knew how to use After Effects. I knew how to do 3D. I was around Victor Etukudo, Harry John. these are some dope VFX 3D. So I would just sit down and just be like a sponge and just be absorbing knowledge, learning. So like I just started picking up, and because a lot of the work was like on the spot. Oh, we need to do an ident for this show. And in my mind, I'm like, what's an ident? So I have to go and figure that out. How do you do an ident? So I was learning in some conditions were unfavorable, but not to the point of like human abuse. Just more like pushing yourself to the limit. And because I was then under a certain kind of stress, I was able to adapt and just I would learn something today, and by tomorrow I already learned how to adapt it to what I was working on. So it's like learning a tutorial and in the same breath applying that tutorial to a project that is due.
That's like the best thing.
You get it's stressful,
that's like the best
you can navigate it.
From
at some point
straight up.
I left in Danny briefly and I started working with Fidelity on the side. Yeah, under
what did you do for Fidelity?
Branding also. So I was working 2 days at Fidelity.
They had like an internal agency or outsourced?
No, they just did a designer. Yeah, an extra designer, and somebody had, I think, recommended me. I worked under a man called Deji Olowe. I think he's the CEO of Lens Square now. Deji Olowe, very innovative, and I call his personal like cowboy personalities. Those guys that Steve Jobs type, you know, they get rough when they need to. But yeah, it was a really nice experience. You know, at that point too, I remember Tim Apps used to work in the other room. You know, I used to see the CEO. Yeah, Tim Apps.
Really?
I think they were doing some. I think Fidelity had contracted them to build a product, or they were helping them build a product. But I knew that they didn't. I don't think they worked directly for the bank. They were just consulting.
That's formerly Money Points, right?
Now Money Points, yes.
Now Money Points, rather. Now Money Points. Wow.
So they had like a whole like room that they were all in. I think like 6 of them. Because sometimes I'll think it's the toilet and I'll open and I'll just see like guys just coding, you get because the toilet is here then, so it's very easy the first time, you know.
Yeah.
Then I started doing freelance. I think I left in 2018. I'd become
sorry, Niyi, just to quickly interrupt you. So when you were working at Fidelity and you were seeing like what Team Apt were doing, this is out of curiosity because if I imagine myself in that space, knowing that Team Apt were like a group of young guys, right? That like building like an application, and you could see like how they were projecting, right? You could see the potential that in that kind of agency, in that kind of startup. Did you at some point think about like, maybe I should actually like pitch myself to these guys? Because imagine that you become like a founder, like a co-founder in Team Apt, maybe like becoming like a director of design.
So the thing is,
did you ever think
the Team Apt of that room was not, because I think there are two versions of Team Apt. The Team Apt you're probably referring to is the one where they already had their full branding and logo, when they became a profitable company. This was before they had even taken that step.
Oh,
you get so like nobody, and
so it was pre-seed, it was pre everything.
This is not Team Apt as a company. This is Team Apt as a small company that is building products. So it wasn't the because you know they got to a point where they had a strong brand and they were making. No, this wasn't. This was like again a group of people. I could tell that the CEO, I think it's Tosi, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But you could tell that he was leading the project. And one of those ones where the door is closed. It's not like you're hearing what's going on. You just know that there's a particular team that's working here. So it's not even, and because I was Fidelity and GT, like I was doing part-time. So I wasn't in Fidelity all the time. Yeah, so it was probably there. I was probably
you were
like
doing part-time.
Yeah. I was freelancing for both.
Wait. Really?
Yeah.
You're freelancing for both GT Bank and Fidelity?
Well, in Danny and Fidelity.
In Danny and Fidelity. Wow. How wasn't that conflict of interest to your...
One is a media...
Did they hire you like as an employee or as a consultant?
Consultant.
Or you just consultant. Okay, so you go in and out?
Yeah.
Because there was no remote work then. I can't even imagine how did you do it?
I was going to 2 jobs,
Okay, so you just do like a couple days somewhere.
Yeah, a couple days, yeah. I mean, for me, it was good because,
you
know,
wow,
yeah, it was very good. I got to work
and you make good money. How
much definitely.
Money did you make? Give us a hint. Give us a hint.
I mean,
how much money were you making?
I think at that point I was making 170 from Fidelity.
Wow.
and I
That was
was
what year?
making so it's
2015.
2016, 17 ish. Yeah.
Okay, 16,
So I was
17.
earning double
Okay.
for I was earning from Indani and you know. But then I don't even think the money was really because I was in that phase of my life where I was living at home, I'm not paying rent, but I'm contributing to the
Yeah,
house. So I was very comfortable, which is
very
why I'm grateful for.
comfortable.
I feel like those moments were when I really learned design
Mm,
properly. If I was
yeah,
struggling to like pay rent and all this, I don't think I would have gotten. But
yeah.
yeah, I worked at Fidelity. So within that, I was able to work in the media space and entertainment space. With Fidelity, it was more of the banking space. There's even some ads down the ATM that I came up with copy, but I
So on
still see every
Fidelity
now and
still.
then. Yeah, I still see every now and then. But
Wow.
it was a
So
while ago. Yeah.
wow,
Then I
interesting,
transitioned to
interesting.
freelance.
So like how after you did you did, let's say you did that for how long did you do that for? The working with what's it called, Fidelity Bank? How
It was
long
like
did
a
you do
year,
that for? A
like a
year.
year. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you do you, I mean, at some point you eventually like fully ventured out to,
Yes,
start your own thing?
2018.
Okay, was that immediately after,
The
or
end of
like how did you
2018.
plan it out? How did you, when did you decide that you had, how did it go? Like how did you move on from Fidelity Bank
So
and
Fidelity was never a permanent thing. It
got
was
it.
just a we need you for this period, and you know they kept on like renewing. And after a while, it was just like
Okay,
I think they had a change of
management
personnel's.
or direction.
Yeah, once you know how this is once a new person
Yeah,
is coming, they are bringing
absolutely.
in their own. But I
Strategy.
know
Wow.
2018 December was when I left in Danny. I wasn't working with them again. Like yeah, I left. I just knew I was done with working full time. I had become
Okay.
so disillusioned with the work I was doing. It felt like I was working as part of a system. Like
Hmm.
just this, edit this, do this. It didn't feel like I was being
Right.
challenged. I know that was the
I
biggest thing
see.
about me is that I didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
challenged. I just
Challenge.
felt like I had reached a point where I was doing optimal work. I was coming to work every
Hmm.
day. I was making money,
Just like a
but
team member, like someone like
yeah,
disposable, like someone
and
that just does tasks.
you get.
Yeah.
I mean, I consider
Yeah.
myself as a maverick type personality where
Mm-hmm.
every now and then
Absolutely.
just break a rule and do something.
Creating
But
projects.
exactly. So 2018,
Yeah.
and around that time, I started something called Mr. Color, which was supposed to be
Absolutely.
my solution to only working corporate gigs. So I needed a space where I could make work for myself, and I didn't need to listen to anybody. Like I needed my
Hmm.
own private
Was it like a
playground.
self-expression
Yes,
space or project?
yes.
Because I
No,
did
it's
see a lot of experimental project on that particular one.
so it was
Yeah.
more of like a
Mr. Color,
persona.
right? It was Mr.
Yeah,
Color, right? Yeah,
yeah, a
yeah. You
persona
did a lot of
experiments.
explorations, experiments. I
Yeah,
saw a lot of them. What's
yeah.
up with it now, anyway?
So it sort of transitioned into the sunflower department,
Ah,
which is going to be my creative studio slash design lab. So that's
absolutely.
why,
Wow,
because
wow.
again,
I've been curious to understand like what's going on in that space. I thought it was like a project because I see you're constantly collaborating with people, and I think that's
yes,
one thing about you. I think that's one
yes,
thing that stands out, that makes you like distinct. You don't hesitate to collaborate. In fact, I
um,
hardly see any project that you do from beginning to end without
on my,
collaborating with
yeah,
anybody.
yeah,
Is it that like a design direction or a photographer or an illustrator,
yeah,
or it's always something or the other, which it just takes the design. I feel like it takes the project to like a different level,
great level,
and even
yeah.
like exposing you to a different audience as well. Like it's just mind
Function
blowing
for
so
me
far.
is just
Yeah.
the biggest no-brainer because
Wow.
you can do something, I can't do it. I can do
Mm-hmm.
something, you can't do it. Let's come
Mm-hmm.
together and do something.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
would say my most frequent collaborator would be Tife Shonaike.
I see that, the illustrator, right?
And yes, and the reason why we work so well together is that number one, Tifa is younger and he's a younger creative. So
Mm.
he's in that space where he's really open to learning a lot of stuff. I'm more on the other side of I'm older. And Tifa
Mm.
does something well that I don't know how to do at all, and that's illustration. So I don't give Tife opinions. I just tell him what I want and sort of nudge him to my side, because I already know he knows what to do. So I can't teach Tife how to illustrate. I can only sort of guide Tife to, this is what I want you to illustrate for me. So that way it's very easy for us to collaborate with each other. And the trade-off on his own end is that I'm a designer that has like brand experience. So he's learning process. He's learning how to like do breakdown, case studies. So it's a very
there's exchange of
valuable
knowledge, valuable knowledge, and
how we work is like, because he's one of the few younger creatives that I don't treat as a younger creative. I treat him as my peer. So that when I work with him, I give him a lot of ownership and accountability. Like, make decisions. If I do something and you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it. If I feel like what you're saying is wrong, then I'll be like, But obviously, my ego is not that big where I cannot listen to. And at the end of the day, Tife is from the younger generation, Gen Z, quote and unquote. And at the moment, where the world is like, I'm also using him as a mirror to that generation to understand the things they like. So I already have the perfect. Tife is a. So if I don't understand, so I'm like, bro, like what's going on? Like, I don't know.
What does this slang mean?
This is what the kids. These are the kids that design. I'm like, okay, I understand. And he has balance
and direction too.
Yeah,
they have a unique. I think they also have a unique sense of style.
Yeah, they have exactly. So there are some things I can never just tap into because I'm not in that space. But with him,
so collaborating with him brings that.
But it's not just even collaborating with him; it's about collaborating with his like what he represents. Again, that generation. So when I work with Tife, if I get a brief tomorrow, I can understand maybe what Gen Z that one would like. I can understand their taste just through Tife, because I already see that he's among his peers. He collaborates a lot too, and I'm just very good at knowing, because I have this thing. I just realized that one of the design philosophies that I practice is reductionism. And for me, reductionism is basically you see something complex, but you take the most simple information and build from there. So an example of how I think that works for me is, if you tell me to model a spoon, instead of me racking my head, I break down a spoon to like its most simple concept. And in 3D, a spoon will most likely be a straight cube, like a rectangle, and like an oval. So if you join an oval and a rectangle together, you literally have like the rough version of a spoon. But in 3D, you can do this thing where you can smoothen the edges, and by the time you smoothen, it becomes a spoon. So if you think about it now, a car would most likely be a box with 4 circles. That's like the most primitive. So that's how I like to look at this, because when I look at them from the whole, my brain cannot.
It looks like a whole lot.
So that's why it's
simplify it.
So it's easy for me to create concepts, because I can look at an image and just say I want to get inspired by just the color, and I take that brown. I look at an image and I see, I like the imagery of a bird. By the time I'm done, I would have picked up the color from here, bird from here, landscape from here, and I've created something new just by thinking from a reductive perspective.
Wow.
And that one,
you mentioned that thing to me before.
Yeah.
Because I was like, at some point, sorry for interrupting you.
No,
but at some point, I think I asked you, what's your creative process like? How do you get things like those crazy posters that you always design? Like, how do you even do them? And then I think you did one session one time, and I watched you. I was like, what's this guy doing? Just reducing the hue and opacity and playing with things, and
it's experiment.
Like, there's no one way. Like, it's experimental.
And that's how I work. Like, I would do this. When I make an edit and it becomes something new, I save that. Then build on that. So by the time I'm done, I have like 5 different things that I've done.
Options or variations.
And I call these things like practice, because I like to say I practice every day. Like, I just try and it's practice.
You do. Your work rate is crazy.
But the thing is, that's the thing. If you think of it from a perspective of having fun, a lot of those things I put out, they don't have any straightforward context.
Meaning,
because I'm not taking myself.
But the funny thing is that people connect with it still. Like, I connect with it still. There's one time you were heavy on 3D expressions.
Yeah.
when you were playing with, like, you would take a
Faces.
model and then you just start doing, like, putting things inside. Like, sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
what? How does Niyi think?
It's a
How do
very
you
like,
think?
because when
like
you
a-
don't put, a lot of people like, I want to make a masterpiece. No, for me it's just like, today I just want to have fun and let me practice something. And but when you
Wow.
take out pressure from a lot of your process, I'm not afraid of looking stupid. There's some things I can do that
Yeah.
they might not even work at
That is
all.
it. That is
Yeah.
it. That
Like
is it.
I just don't have that, and I think it comes with maturity. I just don't have that
Wow.
energy to play that social media game of it will not get 100 likes.
What people will like.
There's some
creating what
posts
people
that
like.
have gotten like 15 likes, 2 likes. But I'm not going to delete it because as much as I like, I want some form of validation where I know that people like the work, but at the end of the day, I'm also mature enough to know that if people don't like this, it doesn't take away from my career. It's just that work they don't like. Like, you can't say because you don't like this particular image, then everything I've done in my entire career is, even if I don't show up, if I don't perform well on a job, it still doesn't discredit me unless I have a series where I'm just flopping. I have like 6 jobs and I flop on all of them. But and I think younger designers carry that thing with them where once they get negative feedback, they see it as a reflection of they are not a good designer. No, design is communication. So at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
you could create something aesthetically very good, but it did not solve the issue. That's
There
still
you
bad
go.
design.
There you go.
So for me, it's like, if a client says they don't like a work, I don't translate it as you are not good enough. It just means I failed to meet
100%.
the expectations of what
100%.
the work was supposed to do. It's not art. Art is more expression. Like, you can't say you don't like my art. You can say it doesn't connect with you.
Connect with you.
Like, you can't diminish, because I will tell you what my art is based on my narrative.
It's subjective.
It's
Totally
subjective. But
Yeah.
design is there
Totally
to solve a problem.
Solve problems.
There's aesthetics because you can solve problems and they look so ugly. But you can solve problems in a beautiful way that people don't even know that there's so many things that have been designed that we forget that they were actually intentionally designed, because they solve the problem so much that you
That
forget.
you don't even see the solution.
You don't even see-
I've heard of that thing before.
Things
I've
like
heard of a
toothpick, all this.
someone said something that, like, a good design is something like, just something like, you can't see the design. Design has already happened. Like, the solution has already happened, that you don't even see what has gone beyond.
Like a
Don't worry,
sidewalk
just go
now.
on. Yeah.
I watched an interview where Kanye was talking about nobody remembers who invented the sidewalk. But it's something we use every day. So he was saying, like, because we were asking him, does he want to be remembered? He said no, that if he does the job well, that things he has created they would sort of just solve the issues they need to solve without, oh, Kanye created this. I think for Kanye West, it's not particularly the music. I consume music, but I'm a Kanye fan music wise, but that's not where a lot of my admiration comes from. It's more from, I think, the things he has achieved, and the fact that Jay-Z described him as that warrior that will climb a mountain and 100 people will shoot arrows at him and he will take it. Then he will come down and say, guys, don't go there. There's like, he's like, this is the same person that before he had signed a deal, he was telling everybody that he's the savior of Chicago. You know that kind of mentality. But I digress.
Yeah.
What I like is, what it is I've learned from Kanye is that ability to collaborate with people seamlessly. Like, getting multiple people in the room and creating something. A lot of the people that Kanye used to roll with back then, they've all become like big fashion influences, music influences. You know, let's even look from the fashion side. Some people that used to work with him, Virgil Abloh, obviously, LV. I think Matthew Williams is the head of Givenchy now. You have Jerry Lorenzo, who is Fear of God. You have not even Fire wasn't in his crew. I'm talking of these are his guys. You know, Kanye's barber, former barber, IBN Jasper, has become a streetwear icon now. Like, he does stuff in streetwear. That used to be Kanye's former barber. Don C, his best friend. You know, so all these people, you can just tell that he's worked with so many people that he knew how to bring them together and collaborate with them seamlessly. Then you now come into music again. He's been able to do that. So Kanye is one of my
Uh,
biggest
I
influences
want to
in that.
interrupt you for a second,
Yeah,
Niyi. For any young creative
yeah,
that is like struggling with collaboration, how do
yeah.
you think they can actually get like, to collaborate with people, reach out to new people that they don't know, or people, because I can imagine like you might not know some people, but it might just take
Yeah.
reaching out to them. So like how do you think young creative can achieve like collaborating with people to get work done better?
I the thing is, the question is not easy to answer, but I would assume that you would have to have a body of work first. It would be weird to come and say let's collaborate and you don't have, like, I can't see what you've done.
Got it.
So already it's already not balanced. I'm not saying you be the greatest designer, but have like a something consistent. Like this is what I'm bringing. Like what are you bringing to the table? That's pretty much, have some body of work that can serve as a precursor for a collaboration. And the second thing is
Right.
target people who again have a skill sets that you like but you can't, and find a way that it can fit into your own. It's for me now. When I first started, I wanted to do photo manipulation, but I didn't have pictures because most of the pictures that were online were white models. This was back
Yeah.
then before people now started doing diversity with we need stock. It was mostly white models. And I just felt uncomfortable because I would design and my stuff, I'll be honest, like it doesn't look African, it's too white. You're not the one that did it. And at some point I had to work with a photographer where I think it's you. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. Is it Gabriel or Ari Labadi, one of those photographers, yeah. And I remember telling them that, your pictures, give me your pictures and let me do some graphic work on it. And that was the collaboration. So I'll say find
Wow.
somebody who is not doing something directly that you're doing. Because it's harder to collaborate when you both do the same thing. At some point your egos sort of start to clash because like
So
this is what I
clash.
do now. I know how to. But if a 3D designer and a photographer come together, there's places where they can intersect without clashing in there. Because one is
I
dealing
think
with real
another.
life, yeah. One is dealing with real life lighting and yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Nia, I keep interrupting you.
No, no, no,
I
it's fine,
just
it's
keep
fine,
having thoughts.
it's
So,
fine.
like, because one of the challenges I'm trying to I'm relating so much with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because another thing I think people struggle with is like the formula for like sharing money. Because
Money.
when you're giving like a project, when you're giving a project, you get like a sum, and maybe like let's give hypothetically 1,000 naira. You
Yeah.
get paid 1,000 naira. After that 1,000 naira, you're already calculating. There's rent, there's my car, there's family, and they're like, I don't want to split this money with anybody. So like, how have you been able to get past that? Like the thought of, this
Yo,
money,
I want to make all the money myself.
mm-hmm.
You burn out, then you realize that you can't make all the money yourself. you know, you like
Yeah.
there's been projects where I've had to refund people's money because I thought I could do the project management side and just let me maximize profit if I'm doing everything. But you burn out and you realize that you won't see it as your leaving money on the table. You start to see it as this is what is there for this project to go well. A project
Wow.
manager is one of the most crucial persons in any creative
Yeah.
process because creatives already
Wow.
don't like to deal with timelines and task driven type of, nobody wants to deal with that. And you now have creatives who have ADHD, like attention span. So you need that one person who can interface with the business and with the clients and the creative team themselves and can
Yeah.
speak their language. Because that person would know how to get the best out of the creative team and know how to pacify or manage the expectations of the client.
So it's like one
So
person tying everybody together,
put it
helping
together.
everybody to,
Yes. So I've
representing
learned
the
that, yeah,
designers.
I'm so 100% down to remove out of money I'm earning just to make sure that the project goes smoothly so that this person that is showing up to do this thing, you are making money enough that you feel like it's your own project too. Because that's how
Yeah.
you should be. Would you
And you
put if
publish it as a collaborative project as well.
exactly? So collaboration for me is and just even look at collaboration from collaborating points. The biggest example I'll say is Linkin Park and Jay-Z. That
Wow.
album Pollution Course introduced Jay-Z to a very wide audience that he would not have most likely been introduced to. And Linkin Park, there's a reason why like a lot of the black community, outside of people that listen to Linkin Park, you get
everybody. Yeah.
let's even say
I
like
never used to listen to rock
people that
before
listen
Linkin
to
Park.
rap, like all of a sudden
Like,
they're like, Linkin Park, Encore.
yeah,
I remember
it's not so
Encore,
bad.
like you get
Yeah.
Jay-Z
Singing it word for
done
word.
it. So for me, it's
Yeah.
like if I collaborate with the creative, I'm opening myself up to that audience. You know,
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I like collaborating with Ife is the people who have followed my work are now most likely that have followed my work from the beginning are now most likely like in their maybe mid/late 20s. All those people that started with me on Tumblr, Twitter. Tife is a different generation. So
Absolutely.
you might find it funny, but I feel like the person that opened me up to the younger audience, like design thing, is Coty. Because
Coty, you worked with Coty?
yes, no, she interviewed me.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I hear people say, I really love your work. I saw you on Coty's page. And I was like, Coty's page? Like, I've been doing work since 2010. But I don't get mad because I'm like, okay, Coty has given me a new
niche.
a new fan base. Like, you get Tife is now
base.
like in that area. So me to also collaborating with Tife also opens me up to that demographic where they now become aware of my work.
Were you doing that consciously?
No.
Were you like, did you have a strategy to actually do this? To actually like get the
I just liked
audience.
For me, I just liked Tife's work, and I said, I was like, I need to find somebody that I'm going to work with and subtly mentor from afar. I don't mentor Tife directly, like, oh, this is what you should do. But I leave the door open and come and ask me any questions. So you can come and say, bro, I want to work on the project. This is how much I want to charge. I'll be like, and one of the things I've been very vocal about is there's projects where you might not make a lot of money, but you're going to make impact. You need to be able to identify these projects. Personally, like, there's some projects that have come where I've done.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, I'll give an example. Yeah. I'll say Peru with Ed Sheeran. I did the cover for Fireboy.
Fireboy. Yeah. I knew you did
a lot of people assumed that I got paid like crazy money. But it was
that
good.
You got paid crazy because that was a great work.
But by my standards, even if for someone on my level, it was just I don't want to say the amount, but I would say it's money that you can use to maybe just ball for like a weekend.
Wow.
In current Nigerian times, like it's just like balling. Let me just around that 300 to 500 mark. But you see, it's that trade-off where it's an industry that is not too organized. So you have to. It's one of those ones where the work drops on your plate. As like, do you want to do this? If you don't do this, they're giving it to the next person. So you now have to decide to yourself that, you know what, do I want to make money off this or? Because as at the end of the day, all you know is that I did work for Fireboy and Ed Sheeran.
Yep. I know you used to
and I can carry
about that industry then.
And I can carry that narrative and just say I did work for Ed Sheeran
for life.
Nobody needs to know how much I made. I can inflate it somewhere. Exactly. I can drop the price.
Exactly.
So it's one of those ones where you need to know when to work for exposure. And when personally, I would not advise someone to work for exposure. Get your money. But there are some people you would work with where they might not be able to offer you financial value, but the trade-off of their reputation. And it's left to you to now decide, I can deal with the loss. And if I get that amount from Fireboy or whatever, I'm still going to do some work that will get me money in the future. So there are some jobs I've taken away again. I won't divulge much, but again, you don't know how much I collected, but the impact has been crazy. And I can sleep well at night knowing that, okay, I'm walking away with that. I can also sleep well at night and walk away with a lot of money and it doesn't go far. I just make money and nobody knows the work, you know. So I'm fine with that. Kanye, definitely big influence. Virgil Abloh, like I said, I love Diplo. But why I like Diplo is Diplo has 5 artistic outputs. He has himself as Diplo. He has Major Lazer with 2 other guys. He has Silk City with Mark Ronson. He has LSD with Sia and Labyrinth. So what Diplo is doing is he's one person, but he's creating different outputs that he can embody different types of works. So LSD is very psychedelic. Him, Labyrinth and Sia, because that's kind of music they make. Major Lazer is very rave. I don't say
Rave,
Afrobeats,
yeah.
but rave type of this thing.
Yeah.
Silk City, I think, is funk or so. So he's doing different types of music under different names, and it's so brilliant because he can experiment here and it doesn't affect Diplo. So whatever he does as Major Lazer doesn't affect Diplo. Whatever he does as LSD doesn't affect you get, because it's different outlets. It's why I like when music artists, they embody characters. Like The Weeknd now. Every time you associate The Weeknd's music, you associate it to an era. So you say Starboy era, After Hours era, Dawn FM era. And what happens is that he's able to experiment as The Weeknd in After Hours. And whatever mistakes he makes there, they don't transfer it to, Starboy era did this. You get, because Starboy was very, Starboy was very
That's quite interesting.
futuristic.
How did you even get deep into this analogy, or like analyzing how creatives, the industries you've been very particular about the music industry.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe because the structure, right? The structure, there's so much
That's not
structure
why.
there.
I just love music.
Why?
Music is my process is like 50% music. I genuinely cannot work if I'm not listening to some kind of melodic, whether it's jazz or an ambient sound or rap. Like, I just need something to distract my inner mind. And I find myself listening more to jazz because I've been listening to rap and I'm too agitated to work. But jazz is just, I swear, the only time I listen to rap is when I enter that I want to freestyle.
You're getting old.
Exactly too. Like, and jazz, you can't do gra to jazz. Like, you have
cool
to
for
calm
that.
down. Yeah, you can't
Calm
be.
down. Yeah.
Imagine trying to work on a branding for a child's project and listen to Ozeba. You won't focus. You just be going. you get what I'm saying?
Interesting.
You won't focus.
100.
So I figured that if these guys are portraying these characters, it allows them to explore a different realm without it affecting. And that's how it was Diplo. It's because of Diplo that I started thinking, okay, I need outlets. I now created Mr. Color. I created this. But now the way I'm structuring it is Sunflower Department is like my creative lab. Like how Kanye West has Donda.
Okay.
Like how Tom Sachs has a studio. Like how Pharrell has this thing called I Am Order. It's like his creative hub. Yeah. Wow. So for me, Sunflower Department, I want to work on creative projects that involve. So let me just give you a rough overview of some of the things we're working on now.
Okay.
I'm currently working on a character called Sonny. So this was the first version.
Wow, you printed it.
Yeah. This is the second.
Did you that's the 3D printed material, like
so what we did was
3D object.
So we 3D printed it, then we made a mold.
Ah, okay.
Then from the mold we now made more copies, so we fiberglass and resin. So this is the second evolution of the character. But it wasn't
what's your plan with this one?
Then let me get to this is the final iteration that looks
nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this character is supposed to be a vinyl. You know how Cause is the Cause figure?
Which one?
KAWS. You definitely know. You just probably don't remember that's the name. But anybody can check his Cause. There's a character. So it's just the character that I want to create as a vinyl toy. The thing with vinyl toys is that vinyl toys are not, toys are more ascribed for like children, and this. Vinyl toys are like more mature. So you can have a character of like maybe Chadwick Boseman, but it's not something you play with. It's just something that you keep there. But with this same character, we're going to also want to make molds and make chocolate bars in form of this character. Yes.
I think you rendered like a chocolate version of it.
Yeah, so that's where that one is. Yes, we've already started doing that.
Nice.
Wow. I'm also working on an ambient album with Sunflower Department. So let's create an ambient album. I did one earlier with Yinka Ben. We dropped down. It's called
ambient album.
Ambient music uses atmospheric sounds. So you
Okay.
hear things like maybe like a melodic tune slowed.
Okay.
You can hear maybe like sounds of cars passing. It's almost like
Wow.
soundtrack to your life. So there's no vocals.
No
It's just
vocals.
atmospheric
Okay.
sounds, yeah. So you could
Okay.
hear like some melodic piano playing and there's rain dropping. It's just supposed to
Wow.
serve like as background music. But the way
Right.
we want to
Right.
create this album is we want to use it as some kind of conversation for rest and wellness. We're in a
Wow.
stressful time
Amazing.
and yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to give too much of because I have collaborators, but yeah, we're working on an ambient album.
Crazy.
We worked
Wow.
on a
Me.
collection recently with David
Yeah.
Blackmore. That's where we did some t-shirts. The Love Now collection, which was
I
inspired
saw
by
it. I saw that one.
yeah, it was inspired by surfing and just being by the beach, like being by water.
Those were lovely images. I'm looking at some of them now, even as we
Yeah, it
speak.
was
Yeah, the skateboards. Yeah, they love now
yeah,
skateboards. I mean
it was
surfboards.
softboard, yeah, softboard, yeah.
Surfboards rather. Yeah,
It
those are
was a
nice.
very
You actually
nice
printed. You created like vinyls and applied them on the surfboards,
yeah. We created
or how
stickers, yes, yeah. Last year I applied on
stickers.
someone, yeah.
Or those are
We
like
worked
lovely
with a
expressions.
coach. I think his name is Gus Power at in Takwa Bay. He's a
Wow.
surfing coach, and I think he's one of the people trying to pioneer surfing as Nigeria to like embrace surfing and probably have us surf at the Olympics if possible.
There's a
You
picture of
know.
you carrying one of the surfboards. Did you actually
No,
surf, prof?
no, no, so.
With your socks.
But we
And your pants.
went to Takwa Bay to go and shoot. So
Okay,
we went to
yeah,
Takwa Bay
that
and we
was a
stayed.
lovely. So,
Yeah, so
Sunflower Department, you
yeah,
said the project is you've created merchandise from
collaboration.
it,
Yeah, love now.
collaboration. Love Now collaboration has been done, and there's
Yes.
merchandise. So, guys, go on and look for the link. I'll make sure to put the link in the description of this video on YouTube, so people can also click on the link and find. I mean, there's a link to order, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you
Uh,
retailing in stores too?
no, not yet, no, not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
No.
all right. So, but yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
that's the images are lovely, and the products are they're nice as well. So so that's about Love Now collaboration. So what else is
Sunflower
I mean,
Department.
what was Sunflower Department? What are we expecting from there, from that space?
I want to create a
What
fund.
else? Okay,
A
yeah,
fund.
let's take
So
it to that.
I initially started on my own, just paying for free design courses with a design school called Jeniza
Geneva,
Design
I saw
School
that.
by
Mm-hmm.
Bolanle Banwo.
Yeah.
But she's married, so she has changed her surname. So forgive me for not remembering her
Osadolo,
new.
let me help you.
Exactly. Sorry. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
she's my good friend too.
I love what she's doing with
100%.
design and everything. And for
Yeah.
me, because I was thinking about it, I said I started this thing where I would send money to them and tell them to pick people for free courses.
People,
And I made sure it
love
was
to do that.
I made sure it was just women
Mm,
because it's
yeah,
a marginalized group in the industry.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
if you think about it, guys can easily approach like senior designer that are men and come and teach me. But with girls, there's always that barrier of are they going to move to me or those. So I didn't want to
Mm,
interface with any of them, like because I wanted to have the trust. So and Bolale is a
right.
woman, so I feel like it's more they're more comfortable, when you know that there's a woman leading. So I also
Yeah.
do the Sunflower Department Fund where um obviously I'm going to figure out how we're going to fund it. But we'll basically be paying for courses for people to take for free,
That's
just
amazing.
to support. Maybe like every month, maybe like 3 people. Nothing too crazy, but something that would make significant impact. And
That's
I think what gingered me to do this is I already started doing like paying for some courses, and somebody that I paid for their course approached me
mm-hmm.
and told me how like I paid for their course and now they are working in this time. I don't want to assume
Wow.
it was only that course, but they mentioned how that course really that was very useful. So it's something
Wow.
that I plan to do. I even want to try and see if I can meet like actual organizations and be like, on my own, I'm already doing
Mm,
this. What can we
yeah.
do together for? Because
Wow.
I honestly believe that we should start teaching design so that we can have more designers that are thinking from a
I
Nigerian
100%
lens.
support you on that. I
You get,
100% support you on that.
yeah.
This for me, even this. I mean, it's actually interesting that you're mentioning or bringing this up. I just actually took a course with Bolanle's Jeniza, and
What was,
you know, I took a brand design masterclass because I was struggling with strategy, like the strategy part
yeah,
of branding. And tell you what, it
yeah,
was
I can imagine.
amazing. You know, you mentioning this up, it just makes me want to also do this because I saw that
Yeah.
she recently posted like someone sponsored like
Yeah.
some
People do that
courses.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that it would be good to
Yeah.
do because I mean, I would even ask you now. So, what inspired you to start to think of yourself as in terms of like giving back or like inspiring people? How did you start that, and what inspired you to do that?
I won't call names, but when I was starting out, I just encountered some people who sort of gave me this I'm your big bro in design
Mm,
energy, and
mm,
I really looked up to them and I tried to like learn from them, but it just always felt like I had to sort of do some extra things before I could get information. Yeah, like I had to panda and for me, I was just like, I don't have the time. So a lot of the stuff I when I say self-taught, I was obviously
mm,
taught by people online, but getting that information, I went to go and seek it myself again.
mm,
And for me, I just find gatekeeping childish, genuinely.
hundred
It's
percent.
it's a very finite existence. At most, the average human being has like
Like,
60 to 90 years. So in my mind is like and maybe I'm just so confident that I know that if I give you information, you cannot use it better than I would use it because again, everybody has their own unique
it doesn't take
experience.
anything from you.
So I would gladly like when people ask me where did you get that font, I would gladly
Mm,
show you where to get the font. Does not mean
yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
use it the way I did it. I'm not afraid of
yeah.
any of that. I'm not playing those
Like,
games. So I'm
mm,
very notorious for over giving people free
overshare.
game
Yeah.
because I don't want the perception of being a designer to feel
Mm,
like you're a god. You know, you're just
mm,
a human being doing a job. And it's education. The more you educate people about design, the more we get better. Nigeria has a big design problem. And the more we educate each
absolutely,
other, we can solve
absolutely.
things.
You can say
It's
that 100 times.
yeah. Like
You
we
can
can
say that
solve
a
so many
hundred
things.
times.
So
So
it
many
makes no
problems.
sense that
Design
I
can
have
solve a
yeah.
lot of our problems.
It
A
makes no
lot
sense
of
that
our
I have
problems.
access to
Yeah.
information like this and I'm
Mm,
not giving back. And the least I
yeah.
can do is tweet about something. I'm always tweeting
Yeah.
links that once I find something interesting, I share so that
Mm.
anybody else can see it. Like I don't,
That's valid.
I'm not. What are we doing here? So I just thought of it. Like, how can I give back to outside of just
Yeah.
yarning online and being
Mm.
available to talk to younger designers? And I saw that and I was like, this is a very good idea. And when I saw
Yeah,
that it
that's
was a lady
inspiring.
that was leading, so I was like, you know what, let me just do it for only even women. You know, I've
Hmm.
paid for some guys' courses. Don't get me wrong, but when I
Yeah.
pay in bulk, I usually just tell
So they
them,
come for you.
please. And you know, I heard a very weird statistic that I wasn't too sure, and I don't want to believe that I heard the right. But I paid for 8 people, and I think I heard around like more than 80 people applied
More
for
than how
eight
many?
80.
80. Jeez.
So it just shows that and it's like people are willing to learn design, but
To
they just
learn.
need like a guide. Because you
Mm.
go on YouTube and the information is just overload. But hearing it
Mm.
being taught by somebody who
Absolutely.
is also Nigerian, who is also a woman.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. The second part of this episode will be released in a week. So stay tuned and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all then. Thank you so much.